So most people in Europe and particularly in the UK have very little understanding of China. Have very little understanding of China.
What?
Very little awareness of the country.
Yeah.
Have no understanding of its history. They cannot speak the language. There are two things to remember. One, a lot of the countries in Central Asia, particularly historically, did not allow foreign journalists to work freely. So most of the foreign news reporting was done by people outside the country, not inside, because the journalists couldn't get accreditation. That already made it quite limited. I think it's a combination of things. So certainly there is a misunderstanding. And one of the reasons that I first started traveling in these countries in the first place was because I wanted to see them for myself and what they were really like. So if we take Afghanistan as an example, my aunt, who is now in her 80s, she actually lived and worked in Afghanistan in the 1960s. So when I was growing up and I was a child, she would be telling me, oh, when I lived in Afghanistan, we did this. Oh, when I lived in Afghanistan, we visited the Bamiyan Buddhas, we went to the Bandi Amir. And she had all these stories which told me about a country that sounded very, very different from what I was seeing and hearing on the news. So most people in Europe and particularly in the UK have very little understanding of China, very little awareness of the country, have no understanding of its history. They cannot speak the language. They have not read any literature from China. Maybe they have met one or two people. There are lots of, for example, Chinese students studying in the UK. So maybe they have a couple of Chinese friends, but generally their exposure to Chinese culture is very low. Perhaps they have eaten Chinese food in a Chinese restaurant in London, but it will not be authentic recipes and something that you would actually eat in China. It would be a very English version of the food. So for most people, the exposure is very, very little. I think that is changing as more and more Chinese people come to study and work and live in the UK. Lots of people from the UK going to China, visiting Hong Kong, even if only in transit. So as people are more mobile and travelling for work and study as well as pleasure, that is bringing people together.